My name is Jake McDermott, and along with Bodie Murphy, today we're going to be discussing the Week 8 video topic. The video topic we have chosen is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders' health and wellbeing in regards to current issues and implications for teaching. Before we go any further in this, I would like to hand it over to Bodie Murphy, who is going to give us an acknowledgement of place in the country.
Thank you, Jake. As a reflection of this Institute's recognition of the deep history and culture of this island, the University of Tasmania wishes to acknowledge the traditional owners, the Palawa people, and the custodians of this land upon which this campus was built. We acknowledge the Tasmanian Aboriginal community who have survived invasion and dispossession and continue to maintain their identity, culture, and Aboriginal rights. We also recognise the value of continuing Aboriginal knowledge and cultural practice, which informs our understandings of history, culture, science, and environment, the university's role in research and education, and in supporting the development of the Tasmanian community. Thank you.
Thank you, Bodie, for that great acknowledgement of place and country. Throughout this topic, we will be engaging in two major points of conversation. The first point of conversation we will be discussing will be key cultural considerations relevant to engaging with the topic in the classroom that are responsive to both Indigenous and non-Indigenous cultures and cultural identities and linguistic diversity. The second point we're going to discuss is key pedagogical considerations relevant to engaging with the topics in the classroom that demonstrate knowledge of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories and perspectives. For the first point of topic, I'm going to hand it over to Bodie Murphy, who is going to discuss the cultural considerations involving Torres Strait Islanders and Aboriginal education within Australian classrooms. Thank you, Bodie.
Thank you, Jake. Just a warning, content may be offensive or disturbing for some audiences. The health and wellbeing for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people continues to be a real issue in Australia. What is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander health and wellbeing? Health and wellbeing, as it is for all Australians, consists of physical, cultural, social and emotional parts of one's life. Just the same for all Australians. But unfortunately, comparing statistics between the two, some alarming signs are still occurring. One difference is the life expectancy. Now, unfortunately, there is a 17-year gap. Compare this in the United States, where Native Americans and other Americans, there's only a 5.5-year gap. Other current issues for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are mental health issues. 80% of youth suicides are of Indigenous background as of 2010. Along with these, problems with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic kidney disease. Also, rare for Australian diseases, and they are a bacterial infection of the eye, which still occurs in some Aboriginal communities, called trachoma, and rheumatic heart disease, which also is very rare for Australians, but still seems to be common occurrence for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Taking this into a classroom, it is a very touchy subject, but to have these cultural considerations, it must be discussed for a young age so that we can, as educators, improve prospects for their futures. Consider and reflect on strategies for working with sensitive and controversial issues. It becomes easier when we can use the AXL points 1.4 and 2.4. Now, these Jake will discuss later with pedagogical content, with planning lessons and what to include, but one thing I'll touch on is the 2.4, and that is understand and respect Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to promote reconciliation. As educators, if we can concentrate on this point in our classroom, we may go some way to allowing students to to become better citizens and make better choices. If educators can promote understanding and respect of Indigenous cultures, may lead to better respect shown for non-Indigenous students. Also, understanding and respect of culture, this may lead to better understanding shown to what may cause some of these issues which occur today. But touching back on mental health, some mental health issues can come from racism or lack of knowledge. As educators, to pass on quality traits to students, be that of Aboriginal descent, making better choices, allowing considerations for their culture to improve mental health, and for non-Indigenous students for understanding some of the issues and being more embracive of their cultures to understand what Aboriginals may go through. A current study from the Australian National University Centre for Epidemiology and Population Health has begun a study on how culture impacts health and wellbeing. They are already finding in these studies that the closer one is to their culture, the better mental health they may show later in life. So by teacher informing students about embracing their culture, as well as teaching others about different cultures, may begin to close the gap. Closing the gap aims to improve life expectancy, improve infant mortality rates, improve overall health for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and raise levels of education and employment. I will now pass over to Jake, and he'll talk about pedagogical procedures.